Live from our headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria, is still Enterprise Weekend on Enterprise Television. And now to our main conversation for today. The Defense Headquarters DHQ has vowed to avenge the murder of 5 soldiers in Obingwa, local government area of Abia State fiercely. It will be recalled that on May 30, gunmen in 3 tinted Prado Toyota SUVs and others from build-up areas surrounding the checkpoint who were reportedly enforcing the sit-at-home directive of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra IPOB opened fire on troops of Udoka deployed at Obikabia Junction checkpoint in Obingwa local government area, joining Aba metropolis in Abia State and sadly killing 5 soldiers. The governors of the Southeast region and Ben Kalu, Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, have condemned the murder and have asked the military to go after those who were involved. However, Edward Buba, Director of Defense and Media Operations, had promised that the military would strike back by bringing overwhelming military pressure on the group to ensure their total defeat. And still with us in the studios to talk about this very sensitive but trending news item is Jimmy Abia. Thank you so very much, Jimmy, for hanging out. Yes. So let's talk about this issue. But I would love to start it from this way. In as much as a media organization, we do not stand for violence. But someone reportedly said that when a region, has an equal measure of consequence, that the Nigerian military seem to, pull back its strings of attack on those regions, particularly in Katsina State. In the last 1 or 2 months, they've killed over 70 soldiers. Particularly, I would love to say this, bandits in Kano State have reportedly killed an officer of the 7th Brigade Nigerian Army, Major A.J. Muhammad. The late Muhammad was a member of the Operation Hadarin Daji and the commander overseeing military operation in the Vantu, Makidan, Ali and Kakara axis of the state. And this happened on 26 April 2024, just a couple of months back. Now, with this case, nothing was done to that. The military did not promise to go annihilate that particular region. Why does it look like when it comes to the southeast and the south of Nigeria, the strength is enormous?
Yes, you are not the only one who has, thought about this. We have also said this when the Okwama issue, came up. I began to wonder what's this penchant of the military once it comes to the south and the southeast of revenge. You can imagine the sort of statements coming from the military. What you expect is that what the military would have been talking about would have been intelligence, investigation, knowing the people. First of all, if you say this group, which group? Have you investigated the matter to know the people, to know the group? Because before you say the group, you ought to tell us the group to be sure that it is even the group you are suspecting. So there has been no investigation, and you're talking of vengeance, you're talking of revenge on who? You see, when people attack the military, like what happened in Banex, we all arise and say, no, this cannot and should not happen. You shouldn't attack our military men who are doing so much to protect the country. We all condemn it. But there's a reason why this happens. Because the military in Nigeria, they see themselves as a separate people, as another people different from Nigerians, especially Nigerians from the south. So there's this sense, there's this impression they send out that, look, these are different people, so they should be treated differently. If certain people attacked the military, I expected that what the military would have been saying would have been, we are going to investigate, we're going to get the culprits, and we're going to ensure that they are properly prosecuted and that the law takes its course. Not vengeance, when you talk about these things, it sounds like we are a barbaric nation where the military would arise against the citizens of that same country, which they are meant to protect. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. These are things we are not even meant to hear about. It shouldn't happen.
Very true. Now, while we maybe throw some jabs on the military, now let's take a look at the actions of the IPOB, of the proscribed sect, the IPOB and the ESN. And the quick question is, at what point do you think we should start drawing the divide? Because the truth of the matter here is, we understand, the quest basically is for a secession that, of course, lots of Southeasterners might not really be comfortable with. But how do you think we can draw or limit the action of the ESN and the IPOB when there is this public sympathy for the particular sect? Like the military defense chief spokesman said, that this war cannot be won when the public is still in support of the group. So how do you think we can actually draw the divide?
All these things don't make sense. They don't. See, I'm serious about this. They don't make sense. Now, you're talking about public sympathy. What gets public sympathy for them? If the military goes ahead today to now attack those areas, there are probably so many innocent people who never knew about this attack that was going to go happen, where the military, 6 civilians, don't forget, 6 civilians in that same community, in that same area, were also killed. Now you go there, you attack the entire area, assuming that happens. What do you think would happen? It would generate sympathy for whoever did that, in that community. That community.
And in the region also.
Yes, in the region. So I expect that there should be proper engagement. If there's proper engagement, there's nothing like sympathy. There's nothing like sympathy. Look, these people and whichever group you think are responsible, or which they think are responsible for this, would not be able to get sympathy if these issues are not mishandled. But what you see now is the way Nigeria mishandles some of these issues. You go in, then you attack the entire community. What happens? They will look to other groups for protection. That's exactly what happens. So, what I expect is still what I said in the past, that there should be proper investigation. Fish out the individual. What is the military intelligence doing in Nigeria? Fish out the individuals and get to them. And then coming to IPOB ESN. Now, we cannot quickly conclude that it is IPOB or ESN. Now, there are many possibilities on this. There's a possibility of even politics.
Okay.
There's the possibility of even politics, pure politics. There's also the possibility of people who criminality, pure aspect of criminality. Then there's also the possibility that is also another splinter group of IPOB. There's also possibility that is a splinter group of ESN. There are all sorts of possibilities. It is investigation that will get us what it is, what the truth is in this matter. If you do not investigate it, how are you going to know who is responsible for this? So I expect that proper investigation should be conducted. Then, again, the IPOB itself, because it is one of the principal bodies, that have come up with this agitation. Now, I have to mention them. I am not saying that they are the ones responsible, because I still repeat that we can't make that conclusion until proper investigation is done.
Yeah.
Now, however, when it comes to the IPOB himself, I said it when this guy started. If you mishandle this agitation, it's going to lead to something that you will not even be able to control.
Okay. Today,
Mazen Nnamdi is coming out saying, oh, whoever is causing the crisis, oh, we're against it, we're against it at all. But we have videos where he was, pushing pushing these things,
them, yeah, exactly.
preaching these things. We had videos. I said it at the time. Look, if we allow this this is not how you carry on agitation. You must have a control of what you want, of what you can't be at somewhere and then telling people how many people have you attacked today. Somebody just calls you in. Because I listened to one of them. One of the radio broadcasts. Yes. Somebody just calls you in. You don't know these people. You don't know who called you. You don't have any direct. You probably don't have. Maybe he does, but not. I mean, and then you're asking the person how many military and police have you attacked today? I mean, what do you expect? So what you have done is to encourage as many criminal groups as possible to get into the ring. And then, so at the end of the day, how do you now want to control them? So the fact that he is singing these things today, trying to say, oh, they are not part of us. But what you generated it in the first place.
So what we're experiencing is an avalanche of what he created.
Exactly.
So do you think
you cannot go and fetch maggot-infested wood and not expect lizards to come to feast with you? They're going to come with you. So what they have done is to fetch maggot-infested wood, and the lizards have come.
Now that the lizards have come, metaphorically, do you think the release of Nnamdi Kanu might dwindle down this sort of reprisal attacks from these groups?
I wouldn't be able to say that. I wouldn't be able to say that because the truth is the how do they say it? This thing has bolted. It has already the horse has bolted. So it is no longer within his control. At this point, even if you're going to release, you can see that someone in Finland is already doing his own. So if you release him today and he says stop, they will accuse him of having joined
the Nigerian military,
and somebody will continue.
And the Finland man might now become the
exactly, or even somebody else will arise from somewhere else. So while it is good to talk about coming to a discussion, trying to sort out these things, also calling for his release because it is, other groups that came up with similar things. They have been released. You can see Sunday Boho and a number of other persons who
with the revolution.
Exactly, with the revolution. So it might be okay to call for his release, which I don't have any problems with. But whether it is his release that will solve this problem, I do not think that his release alone. That his release, maybe his release would help, for those who still listen to him. But, maybe it will help to an extent. But I do not believe that his release would solve the entire crisis, the entire secession crisis, the entire sort of, would I call it banditry in the Southeast. I do not think that at this point that it would solve all that. Maybe it would help to an extent, which I think government should also explore. But it will not be what will solve the entire problem.
Now, taking a look at what will solve the problem. People have often blamed inefficient leadership, bad leadership as the core of the problem. Because every Southeasterner is an independent soul who goes out for what he wants. He wants to, get better life. He does everything to ensure that he stays, at above par. Alex Oti is doing an awesome job in Abia State already. So the question of bad leadership is no longer in question here. So what do you think, just like you did say, because as we look at what would work or what might not work, what do you tentatively think might really bring to a sustainable solution to this cause? Do you think the most efficient leadership, where everybody gets what they want, will solve this problem?
Yeah, I think proper leadership would help. Again, we also have to try to inculcate the right. You know, the other time I was here, I talked about teaching leadership, you know, to our children,
Yes.
you know, right from. We also have to inculcate the right principles in our politicians. I mentioned something else again here, that this could be pure politics. See, you know, when people look at these things, they just look in one direction. They don't look at other possibilities. You have to look at several possibilities. You remember that Hope Uzodinma came out at one time, or not even once, maybe twice or three times, and said that what is happening in Imo State, the insecurity, this is the governor talking, the chief security officer. He said it's politics. There's a lot of politics involved in that. Now, maybe they persuaded him not to go ahead, you know, to conclude, you know, on that particular issue. But what I'm saying is that some of these things happening, you may not entirely rule out, you know, desperation of politicians. Please, we should, when we are looking at these things, we shouldn't. I mean, in the towards the Anambra elections, towards the Anambra elections, you saw how insecurity was rife everywhere in the state.
Very true.
Do you understand? Yeah. And as soon as the elections held, it began to dwindle. It began to dwindle. So I would not rule out politics or anything. I'm not saying it's, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it is this, but I'm saying that whoever is investigating should look at every possibility. Look at every possibility, the possibility that it is IPOB, the possibility that it is ESN, the possibility that it's pure criminality, the possibility that politics is also involved in it. Then about good governance. Good governance would help if people are governed well. First of all, they will be able to make a living. Now, if someone is well educated, be able to make a living, it will be more difficult for that person to get involved in crimes. Now, that is there. So, good governance would help. If people can also take their farm output, you know, from their farms to the town, and the road is good, there's good logistics, they would make some money, and there will be less propensity for crime. Now, so that is there. So good governance would help. Then also, treating a people right. Treating a people right would also help in solving these agitations, not just by the state, but also at the federal level. I mean, Nigeria has to ask itself certain questions, certain very important questions. Have you treated every Nigerian, you know, across board, not just in the Southeast? How do you treat Nigerians? We are talking about a Risco issue with this lady. How do you treat the ordinary people? Someone said that how the weakest in the society is treated will tell you how well developed a society is. So how you treat the weakest, for instance, if you go to certain, you know, countries that are developed, you see that they have walkways, driveways for people who are disabled, physically challenged, rather. Yes, you see that they have provisions, proper provisions made for this. They have proper protection for their children. They have proper protection for women. Now, this is a developed society, so they take care to protect the weak within the society. So you expect that our own society should also not be a society that also revolves around the rich, the powerful, the people who can, you know, decide what happens, but also protecting everybody across the country. Now, particularly in the South, for the Southeast, there has been a lot of, you know, I would use the cliche, you know, which has been used so much, marginalization. You look at the number of local governments, it is the least. And there's a location based on local governments. The number of states, it is the least. The number of legislators, senators, House of Reps members, it is the least.
Even if they don't represent the people.
Even if they don't represent the people, it is the least. The number of federal projects, I was looking at the budget of 2020, the Nigeria's budget of 2024. The least allocation per zone, by far the least, is the Southeast. Please, you can look at the budget in terms of projects. So, in everything, you see that there's this, and this is a zone which could have helped in terms of, industrialization of the country. If you look at Abia, you look at Onitsha, you look at Nnewi, these are areas that if you strengthen these areas, Nigeria would, exit some of the difficulties we are finding today. Look at a situation where there are rail projects, new rail projects all over the country. None connecting to the southeast. None, absolutely none. And these are areas where you could actually get products that would help the development of the country. So it seems that there's an intention. The previous government was building a rail to Maradi in Niger Republic. And there was no project of such into the southeast. So you see that there's a sense that, this part of the country, is not being, there's a sense which some people might feel that this part of the country is not treated as well as it should. And it also generates this feeling of alienation, of that part of the country. So I think if all these things, issues of governance, issues of marginalization and all of these things, and then issue of security, security. If these things are taken and treated well, I think that it would resolve some of the issues. That's awesome. Now, just before we coast home in 30 seconds, please. And from 1997 to 2012, anyone born between that range are called Gen Zs. And if you take a look at the actions of the IPOB and so on and so forth, the foot soldiers are usually those born within that range. Now, what do you think could be done in order to clear the orientation of those born within those range and those born after, just to ensure them and make sure they understand that this part that they are towing as a result of what they listen to would not, right home? You see, one of the disservice that Nigeria is doing to itself is not allowing the proper discussion of the civil war and the events before, during, and after the civil war to be discussed freely. Now, you see that certain persons have agitated for the 30th to be a public holiday, at least in some states and in some parts of the country. You would expect that a reasonable government would think about it. What's there? Have that. What's there? And let people use that. Market. Yes, people mark it and use that day to reflect on what happened at that time.
Because it's historical.
If the younger people know that the solution to resolving issues is not war, that wars have been fought in the past and we lost. There's no family in the south. Of course, there are also families in other places that lost people. But there's no family, including mine, in the southeast that did not lose people, human beings. And these are lives that could have, been very, 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 very important, in later life. But a lot of people lost lives. People lost property. People lost so much. So if the young people would be made to understand that there are better ways to engage. There are better ways. It's better to Georgia than to war. That we can engage and whatever issues that we have can be resolved on a round table. They will look for better alternatives. But where people do not understand these things, in short, on 30th, you see the government in the southeast. There's nothing to mark that day, nothing like lectures, because you expect that when you have these lectures, people would come to understand what happened, why it happened, could we have done it differently? Would we have saved lives if we took another course? Can we do things today, without going through that same route? Even though, yes, you can say you were pushed to the war. Yes, you will say, how can we avoid also being pushed to the war at this time? If there are, lectures on that day, it is declared a public holiday in some states, even if just in the
southeast, of course.
You would expect that you will use that opportunity to let the younger people, because some of these younger people do not know what have a clue. All they know is that we were once maltreated in this country, our fathers wanted to break out, and now we have grown. We want the opportunity to break out. That's all they know about the war situation. So I think that government should reflect on these things and then come up with an alternative way of, letting the younger people understand these issues better.
Very true. This cannot be better said. This can really not be a better said. And I wish for that day when we would have thinking leaders who understand that proactive measures are always better than reactive. I would love to say thank you to GB Abia for being part of our show. We sincerely want to thank you for making our time to be part of our show today.
My pleasure.
Thank you so very much. And for you, you've made our time to be part of our show today. We want to say thank you also. Please do well to visit our website at www.enterprisetvnews.com. Like, comment, respectfully that is, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. I am Henry Igwebike. I'll see you next week for yet another great time. Bye-bye from us.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.